Hello, I'm Dominic Heal with a slightly shortened show today to make way for the football. But there are no cuts to the debate and insight from our guests, I'm sure. Amanda Solloway is the Conservative MP for Derby North and John Ashworth, Labour's MP for Leicester South. Welcome to you both. First, let's just get some reaction to the debate coming up this week on triggering Article 50. Amanda Solloway, you were undecided about Brexit before the campaign. Are you, in tooth and claw, a big supporter now?
Well, I was undecided just prior to going into the referendum, and then I actually came out on the side of Remain. But now, obviously, we had the referendum, people voted to leave, and absolutely, we're doing the right thing. We are committed to it, and I think that's absolutely right that we do that. Slightly more tricky for Labour. I mean, in Leicester, there was a slight majority in favour of remaining. So will you be voting against Article 50?
Well, I think we've had a national referendum and people in that referendum have expressed our desire to leave the European Union. I don't actually like that result, but it is the result nonetheless. So I think we have to get on and negotiate the best deal for Britain now. I'm very, very worried about what we've heard from Theresa May. I think she is pushing us towards a bargain basement deal. I want us to protect workers' rights. I want us to protect the NHS. I want us to protect jobs and livelihoods. So there's a long way to go on this renegotiation, and that's what I'll be pressing for in the debates in Parliament.
All right, thank you for now. Well, Brexit may have stolen the headlines, but there was one other government announcement this week which may turn out to have just as much of an impact on our region. That was the proposals for a new industrial strategy. The 132-page Green Paper included a lot of details which could affect the East Midlands. Among its suggestions, making sure that economic growth is spread evenly around the country. It also contains a promise to outline a strategy for the Midlands engine soon. In addition, there'll be an emphasis on encouraging growth in sectors like aerospace and the creative industries. And there's £14 million for a research project between Rolls-Royce and Loughborough University. Another suggestion is ensuring more of the annual public sector spend of £268 billion a year goes to UK companies. That may be a boost for Derby-based Bombardier when it bids to build trains for HS2. Well, the government says this is a consultation. It wants to hear your views on how to improve the economy. So we have been asking people in Nottingham for their ideas on how to create jobs.
I'd actually put out funding so people could start businesses.
A big believer in giving jobs back to people from the UK.
I think definitely apprenticeships, for more people this age, you can get into the job world quicker.
I think we've got to look to the future. Some of the industries are a bit in the past. I mean, we've lost players and Boots is slowly going, so I think we've got to try and modernise.
But bringing back manufacturing will start. The increase in car manufacturing is helping the economy, so further that.
Well, that's a good point, but apprenticeships, Amanda, is this an idea whose time has come again, do you think?
Absolutely. I think it's one thing very clearly that the government are committed to. I think there are a few challenges that we have as far as industry goes. I think we need to make sure that we get education right, but I think we need to be then going on and making sure we're supporting businesses, and apprenticeships are a really good way of getting people into work, skilled people into work for the roles that we need.
Are you happy, John Ashworth, that the apprenticeships are good quality apprenticeships? In other words, that people will be able to leave them with a good stab at a job?
Well, I think apprenticeships are really important for the economy. We're not going to have disagreement with Amanda on this. We need to be investing more in apprenticeships. But if we're talking about an industrial strategy for the Midlands, I would welcome it. But part of that has got to be the electrification of the Midland Main Line. It keeps getting delayed and put back. It's not good enough. That will bring jobs, it will bring investment to the Midlands. It's absolutely key to an industrial strategy. So I'm asking the government, get on with the electrification of the Midland Main Line. My constituents need it, constituents in Derby need it.
Let's ask Amanda. I mean, that should have been in the Green Paper, shouldn't it?
Well, one of the things that is in the Green Paper, is infrastructure. But for me, I agree with what you're saying. We've all been campaigning for the electrification. But actually, I think we have a broader responsibility as East Midlands MPs to make sure that this Midlands engine for growth is driven forward. And that is one thing that I keep on saying we need to be doing. We need to be making sure that we are, looking after education, creating the roles, and not letting us get railroaded by, for example, Northern Powerhouse and indeed the West Midlands.
I take your point on that, but in the paper it refers to the creation of the Midlands engine soon. I mean, that's a wonderful phrase, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's exactly my point. I think we have a responsibility responsibility to keep on saying we cannot let the Midlands fall behind, specifically the East Midlands.
I mean, the Green Paper was very, very big on technology, on broadband and this sort of stuff. But in our region, manufacturing has been and still is very important.
Oh, yes.
Is there a danger that that's being glossed over, not looked at properly?
Well, I would hope not. I mean, manufacturing in the East Midlands is absolutely vital to our economy. Indeed, I would argue that the East Midlands manufacturing base is the biggest manufacturing base in the country. I know the West Midlands would contest that, but I think the statistics show that the East Midlands, it is bigger. And traditionally, we've not done very well in terms of getting the growth fund money in the last few years. And you know, there was Bombardier didn't get some contracts a couple of years ago. So it seems at times our manufacturing base has been neglected. And that cannot be right. We want a Midlands engine. We want it quicker than soon, if you like.
Absolutely.
But if we're going to have that, we need to be investing in manufacturing, and we need to be investing in things like the Midland Main Line.
Amanda, there is a suggestion that the attitudes are changing, and that whereas in the past we weren't giving contracts to local firms to secure jobs because of the competition rules and so on. It seems that we're becoming more interventionist now.
I think certainly what I'm seeing is there's a lot of excitement around Derby, around the East Midlands, a lot of opportunity that we can do. We need to be making sure that we are making the big contracts are going to this country, and also from our point of view going locally, making sure that apprenticeships are adding value. We've got the great investment in STEM at the moment with partnership with the University of Derby, Rolls-Royce, Bombardier, etc. We've got UTC. There's all these things that we're doing that are really trying to make apprenticeships add value, make Midlands engine for growth, and the skills all apply.
And will Brexit drive that forward, John Ashworth? Do you think that when we leave the European Union, we can be more nakedly interventionist and we can protect our own industry from competition from abroad?
Well, we'll have to see where we get to with the negotiations. I mean, I think we should be intervening in the economy. That's why I'm a Labour politician. I'm pleased that our Conservative friends are now converted to quite a Labour point of view. But by the way, when we talk about manufacturing in the East Midlands, it's not just building trains. Don't forget food manufacturing, our Melton Mowbray pork pies, our Stilton cheeses. These we can be selling to the world, and I want to see government ministers going across the world really banging the drum as well for the food and drink that we produce in this region.
And briefly, Amanda Solloway, what about the quality of employment? There's talk of 0 hours contracts, and particularly, I have to say, within the food industry.
I mean, just on that, one of the things that we do really well is we do apprenticeships, like you're saying, on a broader thing. We've just had a construction place open, Academy, which is supplying exactly that. So what we are doing is we're trying to broaden it out to not just manufacturing, but looking at all of the industries and drive those forward.
So in terms of this green paper, can I summarise your response as being guardedly optimistic, or very optimistic in your case?
I incredibly optimistic, and I know that I'm on the base select committee, as you know, and I know that Ian Wright was saying, the chair was saying, again, you know, what a good thing it is. We need an industrial strategy.
But we need it sooner, is this what you're saying?
Exactly that. I mean, these are good words. They are warm words. Let's see what action we get from the government. But if they're going to implement what they say in this paper, good, but we actually need the action, not just the promises.
OK, thank you very much indeed. The government has announced plans for new action zones to tackle problems caused by heavy drinking in towns and city centres, including ones in Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire. It's a subject that's close to the heart of both of our guests. They've both spoken publicly about the pain of growing up with an alcoholic parent. But are we doing enough to tackle the issue of problem drinking?
A place out of the cold for street drinkers in Leicester. Alex comes here because they help control his drinking.
It's just good to have a place like this where you can go and get the help, especially where the GP, Charlesbury House, they contact with the staff here, so they're both talking to each other so they can understand your needs and what they can do to help you even more.
Yeah.
So what we're doing later?
Quiz.
Is that quiz, yeah?
Yes.
Our aim is to support people as a starting point to get them back into services. They don't always choose to be on the streets. Most of them aren't choosing to be on the streets. It's just part and parcel of their lifestyle.
The Anchor Centre is also a refuge in the day for the hidden homeless, sofa surfers, those in B&Bs, better here than sitting on a park bench.
I'm hoping to be back in work by April. I promised myself to do that, but I don't know if I'll be stopped drinking by it. I don't know. If I can, that's an even bigger step, but I'm going to try.
They want to move from here to a better building in the city centre, what they call a recovery hub, where there's help on alcohol, health, housing advice, support all under one roof. They have the capital funding, but not the planning permission yet. because some would rather not see drinkers near their doorsteps.
John Ashworth, as your personal experience, has that coloured the way that, as Shadow Health Secretary, you view alcoholism in terms of treating the problem?
Well, I spoke out a few weeks ago about my own upbringing with an alcoholic father, and look, I enjoy a drink in a social setting, but I think we sometimes forget in society how devastating alcohol can be. And one of the reasons I spoke out is that, because I'm the Shadow Health Secretary, it'd be easy for me to come on programmes and have a go at the Tory government for this, that and the other. But I thought, if I can speak about my personal experiences and growing up with an alcoholic father and try and make a difference on these matters, I think I'll have achieved something in politics. So that's why I spoke out.
Amanda, that piece was to try and review as well.
Absolutely, I'm completely with John on this. I think it's a big problem, it's a complex problem, and one of the ways that we can get more people talking about it is by people like us speaking honestly and personally, because often, particularly in my situation, you know, the impact of the alcoholic on the family is hidden. You know, we didn't tell people about it, and because it would be, you don't want, it's quite a hurtful thing to talk about. So the more we enable people to do it, the better, I think.
Are we doing enough as a society on this issue? Because an amazing statistic, alcohol is now 54% more affordable in the UK than it was in 1980. There is a role for government, isn't there? I mean, minimum pricing is going through the courts in Scotland, but I don't even think it's on the table in England, is it?
Well, I think the UK government has said it will see what happens with this court case in Scotland, because the Scottish government tried to introduce it and it has been taken to court, I think, by one of the whisky producers, I think. I might be wrong on that.
You're right, yes.
So I think the UK government said it will look at that, but the alcoholism costs the UK economy literally billions of pounds. It's not just the NHS who have to treat people with alcohol problems. It's the fact that people can't get into work, so it's hitting productivity in the economy.
But isn't this where the ambivalence comes in? Because the UK economy makes billions from alcohol duty.
Well, it does make billions from alcohol duty, but it costs the UK more. It's the effect on crime, it's the effect on domestic violence, it's the hidden effect on children and what they have to cope with growing up with an alcoholic parent, which is what I spoke about in very personal terms a few weeks ago. So I do think that the government needs to put in place a really proper strategy for dealing with alcohol and alcoholism in this country.
In our film, we saw a centre where people could go, and a lot of people who are in that situation are going to be driven by the cold weather into these centres. Isn't that a golden opportunity to connect with those people and to offer help? And isn't that what we should be doing more of?
Well, we do it, and you've seen in the centre, we've got a centre that I went to a couple of weeks ago called the Padley Centre. They have a place. The problem is that dealing with alcoholics, people who are sleeping on the street, the reasons that it are very complex. And one of the situations that we have in Derby is that what we're trying to do is encourage people not to be giving money to people who are on the streets, but actually trying to divert that money to a centre through different ways of giving. Because a way to help these people is, as you say, to get them to the centres, to try and give active support. But actually, and John will say this, some of these cases are absolutely tragic.
Well, they are. Just 20 seconds each, if I may. John Ashworth, what advice would you give to someone who's watching this, who is in a situation that you are, one of their parents or both are alcoholics? I mean, what can they do? To whom can they turn? You are not on your own. There are people who will help you, and there are now websites and phone lines and so on, but don't feel that you're on your own. I thought I was on my own as a child. I didn't realise that there's literally millions of, up to 2 million other children in the same circumstances, so talk to somebody. Amanda?
I think for me, I put up a wall around me. I wasn't able to talk about it. I didn't want to know anyone to know about it. I was embarrassed by it. And what I would say is there is help out there, and do talk to someone, talk to somebody who you trust, and there are people, teachers, adults, who can help.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed.